Hi, I'm going to be talking about the biggest entertainer of all time, the biggest person of all time, and this guy is the biggest, and nobody can even come close to this dude, and he is the best and the greatest. I don't care what anyone says. Of course, I'm talking about Michael Joseph Jackson, and he was born on the 29th of August 1958 in Gary, Indiana, and he unfortunately passed away on the 25th of June 2009 at the age of 50. And I want to say, rest in peace to Michael Jackson. And he is a legend, and he is the best, and he is the greatest of all time. And I thought I'd do a video on him. And there's a couple of others that I'm gonna do a 6ix9ine video, Amigos video, and I want to do this one. And Michael Jackson is the greatest entertainer of all time. He's got the biggest selling album of all time, Thriller. Obviously, Bad came close to that, and his other albums are great too, and he's the greatest. And I don't care what anyone says. All of his albums, all of his music is good. I don't care what anyone says. He's talented, amazing, and of course, there's legendary, great, talented artists before him, but nobody even come close to Michael Jackson. I don't care what anyone says. His talent, his fashion, the way he was on stage. I mean, I'm 24, so unfortunately, everything he was doing when he was at his height and doing Thriller and Bad and Off the Wall and all the great stuff, I wasn't even born. And I always say this, like I said, I'm 24, so I always say that I know, and people that are like 18 or like 20 to like 24, 25, know like the 2000s Michael Jackson, especially like leading up before he passed away. But yeah, I remember the 2000s Michael Jackson, but not before. But he is a legend, and I want to get into certain things about him and his legacy and stuff like that. But and I want to say this right now: anyone that watches this or sees this or whatever, I don't care what anyone says or the haters or the media. I don't believe the accusations, and you know what? I'll speak about the accusations for a couple of minutes. Why not? And I don't believe it. Now, I want to say this, and I've watched a lot of DJ Vlad interviews, a lot of interviews, podcasts, a lot of documentaries, a lot of videos and stuff like that. And for people that think he's guilty, I can understand why they would think that. The way that he acted, the way he presented himself, the way that he put himself out there in the public. But, and I want to say this again, rest in peace to Michael Jackson, like I said. And anyone that watches this or see this or Mike, and I am a Michael Jackson fan. I love Michael Jackson just like everyone else. So I'm not trying to criticize him or disrespect him or his legacy, but the media is very, very harsh. And we've seen recently with this whole blackballing, cancel culture, Me Too, and Matt Fidesz, which was Michael Jackson's bodyguard and friend, and other people have said it too. Michael Jackson was the first Me Too victim, the first person or entertainer that got accused of certain things, and he got acquitted of all and got found not guilty on all 13 accounts. And I want to break it down. And the first one was in 1993, I think, which was Jordan Chandler, and his father was Evan Chandler, I believe. Yeah, and the thing is, I'll get into it, but I don't believe the accusations at all, and I believe that he lied and he wanted money, and same with the Gavin Visa, the second one. We'll get into that too. But the first one, and I watched like Chase the Truth, and I watched other documentaries and interviews and podcasts and people that knew Michael Jackson was friends with him, and yes, I love Michael Jackson and I'm a fan of him, but I'm not just going based off like fans or whatever. Like, I actually have watched documentaries and certain things, I don't believe it. But what is it? As far as the first one in 1993, I believe it was Jordan Chandler, Evan Chandler, the dentist, and he wanted to make a movie and he wanted Michael Jackson to fund it, and he didn't want to, and Michael Jackson just wanted to carry on, and he just kind of ignored it. And there's so many facts and stuff, and people don't believe it, and you can go search it up on documentaries and interviews and podcasts. And he wanted money. His father, Geordie Chandler, was the kid that accused him, but it was his father. And even Geordie Chandler said multiple times that Michael Jackson never did anything to him, and his father was trying to get money, and they was going through a whole bunch of his mother and father was going through a whole bunch of like custody and divorce and stuff like that, and was out to get Michael Jackson. And there's actually tapes and recordings that and you can actually search it up. There's literally recordings of Jodie Chandler's father, Evan Chandler, saying, "If I go through with this, I will win big time and get money." And there's so many people at the time that was going through the whole country in America and even in Europe saying that Michael Jackson did something to them just so they could get money and get attention and stuff like that. And we'll get into Wade and that James Robbins, James Safechuck, sorry. We'll get into those as well, and the documentary that they did, Leaving Neverland. But yeah, the first one. But yeah, I believe all of them are for money, and we'll get into Wade and James Safechuck. But yeah, all money, and I don't believe it at all. And that Michael Jackson was a target, and because of the way, and I don't mean to criticize him, but because of the way that he manipulated the media at the time, and he, again, not trying to judge him, but he created a lot of media attention and publicity stunts, and then eventually it was used against him, and the way he presented himself, especially with the high pitched voice. And I want to say this, and there's videos of this, and the Detail channel, YouTube channel that I watch their videos. They've done videos on it. People that knew Michael Jackson, met Michael Jackson, his friends and stuff like that, said that his voice was actually lower in person, and there is proof of this, and it's true. And he used that high pitched voice for different reasons. Some people have said it's because so he could hit them high notes while being in the studio and while performing on stage, which is true. But I think he also used it because he wanted, like Liza Minnelli said, he used it so he could protect himself and for an image and the public, like he can be the way that he wants in himself behind closed doors, but nobody can come in. And he didn't really show himself. He should have done that, and Akon said that too. He should have shown who he really was. Behind the scenes, he didn't really show that. But what is it? Yeah, he had a deep voice, and even the "This Is It" tour, what he was meant to do before he passed away, you can see that he was talking in his natural speaking voice, and he did. And a lot of people have said it, like T-Pain, Akon, Spike Lee has said it, producers, right? So many people that knew and met Michael Jackson, but Eddie Murphy said it too. But yeah, as far as the accusation, not at all. I believe he was a target, and the way he manipulated the media and the way he presented himself and putting himself out there, it was a target for that, and he was the biggest entertainer in the world. And the one thing I will say is that but you gotta understand, Michael Jackson was the biggest entertainer in the world. Thriller was the biggest selling album of all time, and he didn't have a childhood. When Michael Jackson was between the age of 5 to 16, he was on the road. He was traveling around the world doing photo shoot, picture sessions, doing music videos, performing on stage, being in clubs and bars, and travel around the world. And I want to say this, just because Michael Jackson or whoever in general, just because they didn't have a childhood, doesn't give you the excuse to hang around with kids between the age of 5 to 16, which is true. But at the same time, Michael Jackson liked hanging around with kids and animals and stuff like that because he could trust them. Adults that was 18 plus, they wanted money from Michael Jackson. They kept on asking him about the moonwalk, Billie Jean, how do you do this, Smooth Criminal, when you're going to get back on stage again, when you're going to travel around the world, wanted money. Whereas kids between the age of 5 to 16 years of age, they didn't want anything. Like Macaulay Culkin said this too, and he was friends with Michael Jackson, and he actually said that Michael Jackson never did anything to him, and he's always stuck up for Michael Jackson, and said that Michael Jackson never did anything while he was alive and now that he's passed away. And no matter what people say, me personally, from Macaulay Culkin, he's never lied, he's never done anything crazy or whatever, and he's always maintained that Michael Jackson never did anything to him, and he would have no reason to lie, like he said that himself. But at the same time, like kids between the age of 5 to 16, they didn't want anything from him. They didn't care that, yeah, they knew he was Michael Jackson, the pop singer, but they didn't care that he was the king of pop, or he had the biggest selling album of all time, or that he was Michael Jackson worldwide and well known. Kids between the age of 5 to 16 just want to have fun and mess around and be on rides and eat sweets or candies for you Americans. But he just wants to, that's what kids like to do. They just want to do that. and he felt like he could trust them, whereas adults were just trying to get money from him. But then it backfired, and the thing is, like, he should have never, and again, not trying to judge him, but he should have never been seen with kids after the first one. And I want to say this because people think he's guilty because of the way he presented himself, the way he put himself out there, and because he kept on hanging around with kids. But he did not. Michael Jackson did not pay that first lawsuit that happened. Michael Jackson did not pay. It was his insurance company that paid, and he did not want to actually pay it. But there was no way that they could fight it, and Michael Jackson wanted to fight it, and he said this. And I don't know that much about being in court, but watching certain interviews and podcasts and documentaries, and people that have explained it, Matt Fidesz and lawyers and people in America, there's something called a criminal trial, um, and then another one where it's just about money. A civil lawsuit, that's what it's called. So there's a criminal one and then a civil lawsuit. And a criminal lawsuit is where, well, like it says, criminal, where you go to court and then you can go to prison. A civil lawsuit is just about money. And last time I checked, any responsible parent would do what they can to protect their kids, even when they get older. And no parent would take money. If your kid, son or daughter, came to any parent in the world, any responsible parent, if their kid came to them and said that somebody did this, and this, and did something to them, the first thing as a parent that you'd want to do as a responsible parent is you'd want to kill them, beat the hell out of them, and then you'd call the police and you want them under the jail. You want them in prison and pay for what they've done. But these parents, they took the money and ran, especially the first one. And again, if Michael Jackson did actually do this, then they wouldn't have just took money. They would have gone to court, and they was actually wanted Michael Jackson under the jail, prison, and they would have wanted to kill Michael Jackson. But none of them wanted that. They didn't want a criminal trial. They wanted a civil lawsuit, which is just crazy, which is mad. And a lot of people don't know that because it made Michael Jackson at the time look guilty. And you gotta remember, this is before social media. There was media, but there was no Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, social media. It was just media and the TV. There was no social media about at all when this was going on. But yeah, and then the second one, which was Gavin Arvizo, and what triggered that trial was the living with the Michael Jackson documentary that happened with Martin Bashir. And I want to say this, I've watched that documentary a lot of times and I still watch it, and there's parts of it that's good, but Martin Bashir was the interviewer and he made Michael Jackson look crazy. He did him dirty, he did a lot of stuff and made Michael Jackson look like a monster and look horrible. I mean, a lot of people did, but he was definitely out to get Michael, and he was doing a lot of stuff to backstab him and come after him and make him look as bad as possible. And there's another documentary called, obviously there's that one, and there's one that's called Michael Jackson, the footage you was never meant to see, and I've watched that a couple of times too. A lot of people have. And Martin Bashir says that Michael Jackson never did anything, that he didn't do any of that, and he didn't see anything. And on that one, Martin Bashir was saying to Michael Jackson, if you watch it, that he's such a great guy, that it's great how he lets kids come to Neverland and have fun, and how he treats them and looks after them and gives them medical care and stuff like that, because that's what Michael Jackson liked to do. But on the Living with Michael Jackson documentary, he was making Michael Jackson look bad. He was like, oh, what about your appearance? What about this? What about the allegations? What about your nose? So, yeah, he was definitely making Michael Jackson look as bad as possible, but when he shouldn't have done that. But the second one, what triggered it is because in the documentary, it was Gavin Arvizo, the second one, what triggered the trial in 2004 or 5 or whatever it was. What triggered it is because he said that because Gavin Arvizo was in it and he was leaning on Michael Jackson's shoulder and holding his hand. And I blame the parents personally, and you shouldn't be allowing this 20, 30, 40, 50-year-old guy hanging around with your kids between the age of 5 to 16 years of age. I mean, I get both sides, and again, I don't think he's guilty for anyone that sees this or see clips that sees this or watches it, but Yeah, you shouldn't be allowing this 30, 40, 50-year-old guy hang around with your kids. Again, don't believe it. But yeah, I blame the parents myself. Like Eddie Griffin was friends with Michael Jackson. He's always defended Michael Jackson. But he said the same thing too, that he blames the parents. So do I. But yeah, and Gavin Arvizo, and then he got found not guilty on all 13 counts. And I want to say this because people like to twist and say stuff. Michael Jackson never slept in the same bed as kids. No, Michael Jackson would sleep on the floor and they would sleep on the bed. Now, is it, yeah, I get how it looks, and no kid should be alone by themselves with anyone apart from their parents, maybe their uncle or their grandfather, which I understand. But you blame the parents. But at the same time, Michael Jackson never did anything. And there was one time I watched one documentary, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he was friends with Michael Jackson. And this is during the Living with Michael Jackson documentary, and with Gavin Arvizo, the second one. There was a guy that was friends with Michael Jackson, and I watched it on a documentary. And Gavin Arvizo wanted to be with Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson was kind of suspicious. And this is what this guy was saying, and Michael Jackson felt suspicious. He said to Gavin Arvizo's mum, "Look, if it's okay with your mother to stay with me, then it's fine." And Gavin Arvizo said, "Yo, it's fine. We've already asked her. It's okay." But Michael Jackson was suspicious, and the guy that he was friends with said to him, "Look, we'll stay in the room. Gavin Arvizo stays on the bed, and Michael Jackson, his friend, I can't remember his name, they stayed on the floor." And there was always a third party around. And you got to remember, at Neverland, there's 150 security staff. There's people making sure that nothing happens and that he's there. You got to remember, Michael Jackson is the biggest entertainer, the biggest star on the planet. Nobody could get to this dude. He has security guards, staff, friends, people surrounded by him, and make sure that nothing happens, and that, you know, and I can't, and I don't understand how people think and how they think this can go on. And even with the R. Kelly, I'm not trying to compare, but even with the R. Kelly situation, or any of these rappers or singers or actors or actresses, I never understood it. I never understood how they are entertainers, yet apparently all this stuff is going on all the time. Apparently, I mean, I don't get it. When you're an entertainer, you travel around the world, you do interviews, podcasts, late night shows, especially nowadays. You're in the studio, you're making music, doing features, you're performing on stage, you're business meeting, going to meetings, working with your manager, the assistant, your record label. So I don't know how any of this quote unquote stuff comes out, or I don't even understand it. But anyway, and then there was obviously Leaving Neverland with James Safechuck and Wade Robson, and they've lied and time again. They've lied, and it's been come out, and they sued for money, and people would have just skipped the channel if they found out that they were suing for money and suing the estate. I mean, the Michael Jackson estate is worth over $1 billion from what people were saying, and it's crazy. And a lot of people are trying to get that and trying to get money from him, which is true. And there's so many facts, like Wade Robson tried to get a book deal, and at the time when Michael Jackson passed away, they did like a show for him that celebrated Michael Jackson when he passed away. The one they did for like Elvis and Elton John and other stuff. And Wade Robson wanted to do it and said that Michael Jackson taught him how to dance and that no one can do it better than him. And they didn't want him to do it. They picked somebody else, and he got mad and got angry. And then he tried to do a book deal, and was trying to tell people that Michael Jackson did stuff to him, and nobody cared about it, and they didn't believe him. So then all of a sudden, a couple of years later, he was saying James Safechuck said that Michael Jackson did something to them, when I just don't believe that at all. And both of them, especially Wade Robson, testified in court that Michael Jackson never did anything to him. You know what I'm saying? And it's just excuses. Again, I don't believe it. He was a target, the biggest entertainer of all time, people coming after him. I mean, the only thing that Michael Jackson was guilty of was being naive and not realizing how to the public and how to everybody else how weird it looked or how it was. And again, I don't believe him. But any normal person doesn't want to hang around with any kids apart from their nieces or nephews or their own kids. But Michael Jackson, that's the only thing he was guilty of, is being naive and not realizing how it looks to the world and how weird it is to hang around with kids that aren't your own or your nieces or nephews. But this picture, and I want to say, since I'm talking about it, people like to come after Michael Jackson and say stuff that, oh, he wasn't into women and he didn't because of the allegations, and even though he was into women, and believe it or not, he was, and a lot of people don't know this, if you watch documentaries and search it up, it's true. Michael Jackson was investigated by the FBI for 10 years, having people being undercover, pretending to be people, watching his every move, watching him on tour, watching him travel around the world, being undercover, all that, and they didn't find anything. Actually, matter of fact, it was the opposite. It was women. And there's pictures of Michael Jackson intimate with women. I've searched them up. You can search them up. And many women have come forward and releasing books. And there was one girl, I can't remember her name, said many times that she dated Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson dated Tatum O'Neal, Brooke Shields. He married Lisa Marie Presley. Oh, rest in peace to Lisa Marie Presley, by the way. But and she said, and by the way, Lisa Marie Presley had her own kids, and she allowed her kids to be around Michael Jackson as well. And she always said that Michael Jackson wasn't guilty and he was just naive. But yeah, and Lisa Marie Presley even said that she would be in the bed as well while he was kids. And you gotta understand, like, Michael Jackson, kids, everybody's glued to Michael Jackson. And even Lisa Marie Presley said when they did the Diane Sawyer interview when they was married, that everywhere Michael Jackson went, even if he went in the bathroom, kids would run in there with him and be with him. And you got to put this in perspective, being a kid between the age of 5 to 16 years of age, when you're at Neverland, you want to hang out with Michael Jackson, you want to go on rides, you want to eat candy, you want to have fun. And like Macaulay Culkin said, that's all that Michael Jackson wanted to do because he didn't have it. And it was used against him. And it's kind of sad, really, because his legacy. And also, I want to talk about this. The Michael Jackson biopic's coming out next year, 2026. And on the official trailer, it's got 13 million in 11 days, which is crazy. You know, it's got more than a lot of other biopics from other entertainers. And it's going to be the biggest thing. And his nephew, Jafar Jackson, is going to be playing it. And we've all seen the clips. It's been going viral on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm sure on TikTok as well. I don't really care about TikTok. But it's also got like between 3 or 4 million on like other trailers as well. And from the clips and the trailers and certain things that we've all seen, it looks like it's going to be pretty good, you know. I think it is. And I can't wait to watch it, but it's not coming out till next year. Apparently it was meant to be this year, but yeah, it looks like they're actually going to go into detail. And again, we're just going based off like 2 or 3 minutes or 4-minute trailers or clips or whatever, but I think it's going to be huge. I mean, like I said, it's already got 13 million as of right now in 11 days, which is crazy. I mean, and I seen it on Instagram, and people was talking about how his song Thriller was in the top 10 or top 20 on the charts, and it's been years and like what 30-40 years since Michael Jackson did Thriller, and it's been like 10-15 years, maybe even 20 years since he passed away in 2009, so which is crazy but kind of mad. But yeah, as far as the allegations, I don't believe it. I never will. He was a target. Yes, he didn't really help himself, and it's not an excuse just because he didn't have a childhood, but he just wanted kids to live comfortable, like Akon said, and Akon was friends with him. And even people that was friends with Michael Jackson had their own kids. And it was 3 bodyguards that did an interview with a woman on GMA back when Michael Jackson passed away in 2009. And they even said that they don't believe the accusations, and that they have kids of their own as well. And Eddie Murphy and Akon and Matt Fidesz and Mark Lester, which was Michael Jackson's best friend and they grew up together, has his own kids as well. So a lot of people had their kids that surrounded by Michael Jackson and never did anything. And there was one guy that was close to Michael Jackson in the early days it was a documentary that you can search up about plastic surgery anyway. and they spoke about Michael Jackson. But what is it? There was one guy, I can't remember his name, that's knew Michael Jackson's brothers in the early days, and he said that Michael Jackson would be around his daughter, and Michael Jackson never did anything. So yeah, a lot of people come forward, but yeah, I don't believe the accusations at all. And the one thing I will say before it finishes, us as fans and supporters and the public, we feel like we know entertainers. We feel like we know, because we watch and listen to them and stuff like that. And people assume that entertainers are immune from foul stuff or being toxic or whatever. And I'm not saying that Michael Jackson was or is, but at the same time, it's like people that knew Michael Jackson, and he said time and time again he would slit his wrist and would never do anything to a kid. And I definitely believe it. And especially, and you gotta remember, the media is very, very powerful, and we've been seeing this recently the past couple of years with this cancel culture and blackballing, and the media trying to bring down entertainers, but people in general, and trying to paint people as being a monster and being guilty before the allegations or anything's even come out. But at the end of the day, and Darkchild is a producer that worked with Michael Jackson and worked with him on his last album, Invincible, said that the world is based on allegations, which is true. A lot of the world out there is just based on allegations, but I don't believe it. Michael Jackson, the greatest entertainer of all time, biggest selling alive or passed away, and I don't believe it, and I never will. And he's the greatest best music of all time, and nobody can come near him. Stephanie Mills, that also dated Michael Jackson, by the way, she said many times, said that Michael Jackson was on a planet by himself, which is true. But like I said, rest in peace to Michael Jackson, the greatest, amazing. But tell me what you think down below about the allegations. Tell me what you think down below.